Hey, welcome everybody. Good to see you all tonight. Sorry for the slight delay. Had a little technical issue I had to resolve, but we're ready to go now. So great turnout for this webinar tonight from the Zone 34 Rotary Public Image team. Tonight we're going to be learning about World Polio Day, how we can promote it. But first of all, one of the most important things we want to do is have an update from Past RI President John Germ, who's going to talk to us about vaccines and the effectiveness of vaccines and the polio update and the progress that Rotary is making with this incredible program. But first of all, let me jump over to this slide. In our webinar last week or last month, you met the Zone 34 Public Image team. William Inniss is down in 7020, 7000 in 7030. Kim Walden covers much of Georgia and the panhandle of Florida. Kirk Driscoll covers the rest of Georgia. And then Allison Hussey covers Southern Florida and Southwest Florida. And I cover Northeast Florida as well as pretty much everything else. So last month you met us. I did want to talk about a special webinar that we have coming up next month. And that is going to be with past Rotary International photographer, Alice Henson. Now, you're not going to want to miss this webinar. Alice is an extremely talented lady and has a lot of great tips on how you can use photography and images for visual storytelling. We all know how important it is to tell the Rotary story and to tell it effectively through images and photos. And so there's a link down there at the bottom of the screen. Please make sure you register for that. It's going to be September 27th at 6 p.m. Now, don't worry about all the links and everything in this deck as we go through this. I need to go ahead and remind you of that. We are going to be sharing the slides for tonight's webinar tomorrow. The other great thing is, and if you're, if you want to listen to the Spanish translation or the French translation, tonight we also have simultaneous interpretation in Spanish and French. So that's a special feature and benefit that we've added to this webinar because we feel it's so important that everyone get information about World Polio Day 2021. And special thanks to District Public Image Chair Sean Patty out of 7030 for coordinating that effort. So with that, we're going to jump right in. As you all registered for tonight's session, we did ask all of you whether or not you were going to have, or whether you have had World Polio Day event in the past. And it was great to see all the responses, so many great responses of folks that have done World Polio Day events in the past, great ideas. And we're going to try to aggregate all those ideas and share them with you all because just incredible ideas. And it was really encouraging to see how many people are planning to do a World Polio Day in 2021. And I think that if there is ever a time for us to talk about vaccines and talk about Rotary's efforts to eradicate polio, this year gives us just that unique opportunity to be a part of this conversation. And what better way to be a part of that conversation than to talk about Rotary's efforts to vaccinate the world and to eradicate polio. And so with that, one of the best people that I could think of to be a part of this conversation was past Rotary International John Germ. Now, I know I've mentioned before stories about my work with John in the past and getting to know John. And I know last year we talked about when we first met John, he talked about past classes of Rotarians and how past presidents referred to them as best class and world class and first class. And then, of course, John said, well, dadgummit, we're just going to be no class. And then decided, no, that probably isn't the best thing. So John called us the All-Stars. And so immediately we decided that we were going to wear the red Chuck Taylor Converse All-Stars. And we picked the color red because if there's anyone that is associated with the polio program, it's John Germ. John is the fellow that got the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to sign off on that 2-to-1 match and has just been at the forefront of the polio effort from the very beginning. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to my good friend, past Rotary International President, John Germ.
Hey, well, thank you, Marshall. I wasn't around when we originally started this back in 1979. I was a Rotarian back then, but it was James Bomar that and Clem Renoff that had the idea of vaccinating the 6 million children in the Philippines. And we've had a few hurdles since then, and we've got a few hurdles that we still have to go through. So let me start by, first of all, thanking you for letting me be with you today. As you know, we are now Zooming all over the world. And so I said a few minutes ago, I started at 9 o'clock this morning. And so I will quit after this one. So for today, and then start again tomorrow morning. You know, I don't think there's anything more important right now than talking about vaccinations. And I know that, unfortunately, in my opinion, this thing with COVID has turned into a political battle. But if we look back at vaccinations, most people have had a flu shot. Did all the flu shots work? We don't know. Did people get flu after they took the flu shot? Yes. Are they better off that they took the flu shot? Yes. What about chicken pox? What about smallpox? What about polio itself? So vaccines do work. And I think that's a message we've got to get across, is that vaccines do work. We know it's an individual right, but people should be encouraged, if at all possible, to go get the COVID-19 shot. And now then, they announced today that the they're releasing the Pfizer for the third shot now. So let's talk a little bit about where we're at, though, because I think this is important. And there are some things that I think that you need to be made aware of. You know, we have gone down from 1,000 cases a day, which meant we had about 300,000 cases a year. But we've only got 2 cases since January. Both cases were in January. The one's in Afghanistan and one is in Pakistan. Now, immediately the question comes up, well, what's going to happen now in Afghanistan? My answer to that is very simple. The Taliban have children also. The Taliban has never been against vaccinations. They just did not like the way that they were blaming the U.S. for hunting down Osama bin Laden and claiming that we were using that as a method by which to find him, which was not true, but it wasn't true that the polio vaccine created cancer either. But I'm confident that we are going to be able to make more progress in Afghanistan now, because there are not 2 governments there now. There is just one government there. The Taliban has total control. The children we were not being able to reach in Afghanistan were those that were under the Taliban control. So hopefully that we're going to be able to do vaccinations there. We did have one section of Afghanistan that had an NID today, and it was allowed. The health minister that had been working with us on polio has been reappointed under the new government as the health minister, and he will continue. So that's good news. So I think we have to take all this in stride and continue to say the most important thing we can do is get all of the children vaccinated. World Polio Day is a great day to do that. And as Marshall said, that last year we had World Polio Day. We used to have World Polio Day where we ended up having major events sponsored by Rotary International with Chicago and New York and Philadelphia and Evanston. And we're not doing that this year. We didn't do it last year. We're not going to be able to do it this year because of the mass gathering that we can't expose Rotarians to for that. So we're encouraging all of the clubs to do a World Polio Day event in their own community. Now that can be a virtual event working with the television stations and media, or it could be an in-person event, depending on how safe you feel it is to have some type of a gathering. So we are encouraging that. We do have a video that will be updated and will be out about the 10th of October. That should help you. We have a World Polio Day kit that I have sent to Marshall, and those will be updated on a regular basis. So we need you to raise money. We did make our $50 million goal last year. We made $50,027,000. So that's about as close as we can get. And we did have some great help with that. Mrs. Burla from India went from 500,000 to $1 million. Tommy Bagwell out of Georgia, he put in $1 million to challenge people to turn loose of some of their DDF this past year. And we got an additional $1 million from the Canadians. So it's going to take all of us to make this happen. We know we've committed to do it. We know there's no child should be crippled from polio when we have the vaccine that'll prevent that. The other thing that you may hear a little bit about is vaccine-derived polio. And that is not where that I've been vaccinated and I give it to somebody. It's where I excrete out into the water stream, the sanitary system, and where somebody that has not been vaccinated gets in there and catches it. We now have a new vaccine that we've got 10 countries in Africa already that are using this. It's called the NOPV2, the novel OPV2, and it does not let you excrete out like the other virus does. So hopefully that's going to help. It has proved successful in Nigeria where it's been tested, and we now have 10 countries that are using it. So we are stockpiling vaccines now, and we will be having a meeting in September to meet with WHO and UNICEF to talk about budgets for next year. The budget for this coming for year 22 is $900 million. So you can see that Rotary's $150 million is very important toward the success of polio eradication. Gates gives us the $100 million in January once we have certified that we have done the $50 million. So we'll be getting that, and we spend money 3 times a year. So we give them $50 million, and it goes to WHO and UNICEF. Mike McGovern and I had a meeting with UNICEF today to talk about accountability and stewardship and how they spend that money. And we keep harping on that. And how do we get more government participation? And that's going to be a key. So vaccines work. We need to continue to push for vaccinations, and especially for the polio vaccines. So let me just answer questions. Didn't come prepared to make any long speeches. You just don't want to give a past district governor a microphone. So let me know any questions that you got that I can help you with as you begin planning these events.
Yeah, so if anyone has a question, we can take a couple of questions for Past RI President John Germ before we get into the part where we talk about how to prepare and prep for your World Polio Day or your virtual gathering because of the current situation. So if you guys want to drop them in the chat, we can answer a couple of questions real quick. Let's see.
Let's take a club photo. Wait a minute, we're going to send the photos to SpaceX Heavy rockets to the moon?
That's right. That's District Governor Barry Gaynor in Rotary 6980. Yeah. All right.
Is anybody going to read them?
Past District Governor Rich Kirshner asked, what is the cost to vaccinate a child in 2021?
Roughly 60 cents.
60 cents.
You know, there are a lot of places that have started a Polio Plus Society, which goes along like a Paul Harris Society, and you give $100 a year till polio is eradicated, and a lot of people give more than that, but you do it like $10 a month or something on Rotary Direct, and there's pins and banners and stuff for that. So
fantastic. One question here. Can you tell us a little bit about how the relationship with Bill Gates started?
There was conversations with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation when they formed their foundation about how they're distributing funds. And the Gates came up with the idea that we had asked for some money, and they said that they would give us $100 million if we could use it. This was in 2007. They would give us $100 million if we would continue to work on polio. There was no real challenge to that in the fact that they wired the money. The money became ours to spend. We just had to spend it on polio. Then they said there's two conditions. There's always a condition, when money comes involved. But it was very nominal because we got the money in November of 2007. And they asked that, number one, we spend that $100 million before December the 31st of 2008. And obviously we didn't have a campaign. We didn't have any idea about that at that time. But then they said the second condition was that they wanted us to raise $100 million by June of 2010. And we were about halfway through the campaign, and we had raised 48 million, a little over. And they said, we'll give you another 100. If you'll raise another 100, we'll do it by June of 2012. So at the International Assembly, we announced in 2010 that we had already raised 228.7 million. You guys had, and your predecessors, and they gave us a $50 million bonus for doing that. So I asked Bill, why does he give this money to Rotary? He could have given it to WHO or UNICEF, or he said, because Rotary has a passion, and that passion is to eradicate polio. You started this in 1979 with your own funds. You were turned down by the World Health Assembly. Then you turned around and raised $247 million on a $120 million goal in 1985. So you've got the passion, but more importantly, you got boots on the ground. And I think that's what's important, is that we had such a wide array of districts and clubs and individuals that were willing to pay their own expenses to go to NIDs and to help put those two precious drops into a child's mouth. Many of us had the polio vaccine when we were in school, had a little sugar cube, and they put the vaccine on top of that sugar cube. And there's a story about that. The story about that is that Richard Sherman and his brother were songwriters for Disney. And his son, he couldn't think of a new song. He just had run out of Chitty Chitty Big Bang and Big Bang and all that. So his son came home from school, and his daddy said, well, how did it go at school today, son? He said, well, it was great. We got the polio. And he said, what do you mean you got polio? So he told about placing the medicine on a sugar cube, and guess what resulted from that?
Spoonful of sugar.
Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is a great story.
And you can look that up, and it's all over the history there, but it is part of it. It's a great story about how that spurred on another famous song.
Oh, that's awesome. John, quick question. So this year we've only had 2 cases so far, and
Right.
It's ironic given what's going on with COVID that we've only had the 2 cases. Is it because, and there are a couple of parts of this question. So one is it because people are staying inside because of COVID? And then kind of on top of that, if we have seen our last case of polio, what are the needs in terms of fundraising for the end game to make sure that we get to that certification point?
Let's go back to the first part first, Marshall. While people are still staying inside, we did pause our vaccinations on going door to door for about 3 months, but they are going back door to door now. Like I said, we did have an NID in Afghanistan today. So we've also assigned a person from the GPEI, Global Polio Eradication Initiative group, who is in Jordan. It happens to be the same individual that helped us eradicate polio out of India. So we think that that's a positive step. So the second part of the question was what?
Regarding the end game, the fundraising needs once we've seen that last case,
Okay.
and what is it going to take to get certified?
Okay, the GPEI has got a new strategic plan. It calls for certification to be done in 2026. That the last case would be in 2023. We do certification in 2026. So it's 3 years after the last case, and that's been voted on by a lot of the governments of the world to say that we can do this. So I think that and it's roughly a cost of over $900 million per year. People say, well, why does it still cost $900 million a year when you only got 2 cases? That's because we have to vaccinate 450 million children per year until we get through. We provide polio vaccinations right now in the United States, and all these other countries that are polio free are also doing vaccinations for their children too, because we don't want it to spread. And I use COVID as an example of what can happen. What can happen is you saw how fast that this virus is spread all around the world and the devastation that it has caused. Polio could do the same thing if we stop. And so we can't stop. We've got to keep going. So we're looking at about a $5 billion program.
And we won't stop until it's done. That's something that we've committed to, and I know that we will do it. Well, John, I appreciate the comments tonight. If you want to stick around, we're going to, Kirk Driscoll and Kim Walden are going to talk about some of the ideas and plans and ways to register World Polio Day events. I know we always talk about that one fun one that you guys do up in Tennessee with the donuts.
Yeah. It's a good one, I'll guarantee you.
We need to find donut makers around the world to make the purple pinky donut.
Well, do you have a Dunkin' Donut shop around there somewhere?
We do. I think many people do. Yeah.
Well, Dave Bumgardner from Knoxville, Tennessee, who's a Rotarian, came up with this idea. He has a franchise of East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. We actually expanded down into Alabama this last year, and we'll be doing that again. So I could send somebody his information, and he would probably be able to introduce you to the franchise dealer for that particular area down there.
Well, please do. We'll include that in the email that we send out with the information. So yeah, I've heard pints for polio and now donuts for polio. So donuts and beer. I think that's a pretty good, those are a couple of pretty good campaigns.
That's right.
Well, with that, I'm going to, again, thank you, Past RI President John, for the comments and kicking us off with the idea with the donut, purple pinky donut. At this time, I'm going to hand it off to Kim Walden, who is going to give us some more ideas. Kim?
Thanks, Marshall, and thanks, Past Rotary International President John Germ. We really appreciate that. So I just want to talk to you guys about what we're planning. As you know, for more than 30 years, Rotary and our partners have driven the effort to eradicate polio worldwide. Our Polio Plus program was actually the first initiative to tackle polio eradication by vaccinating children on a massive scale, as you've heard. So as a core partner in the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, we need to focus on advocacy, fundraising, volunteer recruitment, and just awareness building. Now, to date, and I may be a little off on my numbers, so feel free to correct me, John, but Rotary members have contributed over 1.9 billion in countless volunteer hours to protect the more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries from this paralyzing disease. So Rotary's advocacy efforts have played a role in decisions by governments to contribute more than $8 billion to the effort. But there are still challenges, as you heard. Rotary and our partners, we've made a lot of progress, but to eliminate all the cases, we have to really be diligent and persevere. Afghanistan and Pakistan face unique challenges, including the political insecurity, the highly mobile populations, the difficult terrain, and in some cases, just logistical barriers. So, but with sufficient resources and a commitment of national governments and innovations that help us improve access to remote areas, we are optimistic that we can eliminate polio. And so that's why we're here today, just to talk to you about the tools and how you can help make a difference to celebrate World Polio Day on October 24th. So where can we start with that? We recommend that you start with a committee. So put together a World Polio Day committee and work closely with your club social service director and your district End Polio Now chairs, and that'll be on the next slide. And they can give you support that you may need. You can also partner with another club or a Rotaract club. They get very excited about these projects. And when you're thinking about your event, just try to decide, will it be ticketed or will it be free? Will it be for fundraising or educational purposes? Or in this case now, with our current pandemic, will it be online or in person? And then select or volunteer to be the committee chair. Pull together Rotarians with the connection and expertise to help you. You'd be surprised how many people have great polio stories. And in the weeks leading up to the event, make sure you're posting about it on your club and personal accounts and your social media. Consider boosting it on Facebook. That is so inexpensive and really makes a difference. And if it's a fundraiser, it can really help you improve how much you fundraise. You can also notify your local newspaper, put it on your website, update local community calendars. That's one that most people forget to do. And then you know that person who's really good with selfies in your club, usually the younger Rotarians, are very good with their smartphone skills, so they can capture some great videos and photos of the event that you do. And they can share them live on the day of the event, or they can also use them to promote your club or its fundraisers in the future. We did a great webinar on smartphone photography that doesn't suck, that's on our webpage for you guys to review and see. And it's rotaryshares.org/Vimeo if you want to see that. And that will really help you put some good content out there. So I told you that you have End Polio Now coordinators that can help you. So you see those on this screen, Kim Waters, Nick Hall, and Lindsay Cancino. And they can be a great resource for you, and you can see the districts that they cover. So make sure you reach out to them. They'll be so excited to help you. So we talked about how to start planning your World Polio Day. Rotary International truly has the most fantastic resources in their endpolionow.org website, which Kirk is going to talk to you a little bit more about. But I'm going to show you a few things here just to get you familiar with all those great resources. And we really encourage you to visit this site, review it carefully. There is up-to-date information on the current status of our fight to end polio, as well as the ability to not only search for events that are in your area, but also to register your own event and link it to your website or Facebook page. Because last year they talked about how many events that were done to help end polio on World Polio Day, and it was really amazing to hear some of those different things. So to make it easy, you can go to endpolio.org/World Polio Day to see where all of the events are. And most important, on the same website, this is where you register yours. And that will help your club be recognized for holding an end polio event. And so this next screen, it just talks about what—
Hey, Kim, 1 second. I was going to say, for those public image chairs that are on this webinar tonight, we need to remind you all that one of the tasks, as you go through the task for the public image citation, one of the tasks in October is going to be showing us your World Polio Day event and how you promoted it. So be sure to take lots of photos, register it, and share with us the impact and the number of people that were involved. So good reminder for those public image chairs on the call tonight.
So registering your event is super easy. You can see the registration for your club's participation form right there. So there's not a lot of content that you have to enter, but it just helps Rotary recognize that your club did that project. And then slide 14 just basically talks about how to start planning your World Polio Day. So as you all know, it's October 24th. So in addition to that toolkit that you should download, by the way, to get those useful materials, there's a zip file, and it contains all kinds of resources like how to celebrate the event. It has an invitation template and a letter heading with the branding of the Rotary World Polio Day. All kinds of Rotary and polio information leaflets, sample press releases. You'll see all of those different pieces and parts there. Lastly, there's a World Polio Day proclamation that you can do. Just send that to your local governing body, and your town or city or country government can resolve to support Rotary's effort to eradicate polio with this proclamation. We did that by giving that to our city council, and they proclaimed it World Polio Day locally, which was really cool. So what are some ideas for a stellar World Polio Day event? As you've heard, we collected a bunch of great ones, and you just want to remember that we're counting down to history. So this is the year that we really want to make a difference in all that we do. So I'm going to go through a few ideas that we wanted to share with you. Hosting a viewing party. So you can use your club meeting to educate your members about where our goal to eradicate polio started and just how far we've come. It's a really great story, and we are this close. So you can host a viewing party. There was a club in Pakistan that hosted a screening of a documentary about polio, and it was really well received. You can host a concert or a virtual benefit concert. One club in Switzerland raised $300,000 because they were able to get a renowned conductor and orchestra to host a concert. But there's other things you can do, like hosting a polio walk, a swim, or ride, road bikes or stationary. And you can also do a virtual one. I think those are really fun too. So this Host a Polio Walk or Ride slide talks about a club in Kenya and France that hosted walks and cycling events to raise funds and awareness for polio eradication efforts. But there's a lot more fun events that you can do. So you can partner with a local restaurant and ask for a percentage of the receipts that they do that night to be donated to polio. You can have a trivia contest or a bingo night fundraiser, and you can raise funds and public awareness by auctioning different things that you've gotten donated on the internet or either on online bid site. And then you can promote that event on social media or local TV or radio. We even had one club host a virtual wine tasting fundraiser. You know they raised a lot of money. But one of the coolest ones that we heard about recently was the Rotary Club of Americus, Georgia. They held a membership networking event, and they also used it to court prospective members. So they shared information about World Polio Day, and they shared how Rotary's involvement is so critical in the eradication of polio. And it really appealed to a lot of prospective members to join the club because they knew that there was a really strong focus on service, and they really liked this message. So the club registered the World Polio Day event, and then they also upped the ante by pitching in $5 for every Rotarian that registered to attend, and they donated all of that money to Polio Plus. So, for example, if $200 was raised with the match, the 2-to-1 match by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, then that would equal $600. So that's a pretty significant amount, and you can imagine how it builds up as you do these different projects. So for their social, they had 50 people. 16 of them were guests. It was held at a local hotel, and it was catered by a local restaurant. While that was going on, they had a looping PowerPoint running during the event, and it just talked about all their different club service projects, their annual events, their socials, and it was just a really great way to help cultivate members and share the work about our goal to end polio and to build goodwill and better friendships. And you can see some of the mugs that they ordered, some of the drinkware that they ordered to help do some fundraising. But there's many more things that you can do. So another club in Ontario, Canada, took a little different approach. So after many years of celebrating World Polio Day with the proclamations and the updates from Rotary and health leaders, flag raising ceremonies, 10 different Rotary clubs in District 7070, which is in Canada, as I mentioned, they held an in-person event in a new global classroom, and they streamed it live. So that live streaming went over so well that they are now hosting their events like that. So if you want to hold a combined event, you could host 2 clubs together if you wanted. One such club, the Rotary Clubs of Oshawa and Oshawa Parkwood, received buy-in from 9 other clubs to join in a single event. And they asked all the mayors to proclaim October 24th as World Polio Day. So they had 8 total communities, and this was in the Durham region. And they arranged for End Polio Now flag raising ceremonies in each community. So they all did this. They used those resources provided by Rotary to stream Rotary's World Polio Day online global event to update Rotarians, to update students in their community, and also the public. They had some prominent speakers talk about polio and their experience with it. And they even found a presentation. They even found someone who was from Pakistan, and he was a local college student. And this student had grown up in Pakistan and received the oral polio vaccine as a young child and was able to talk about it and the difference that it made. They had other polio survivors from their area talk about living with polio, as you may know people who do live with polio. And they promoted their entire event through social media and local media outlets. And they're still doing this. They've replicated this event for several years now because it was so popular. Now you heard a little bit about the purple pinky. So here's what that looks like. So you can do a purple pinky fundraiser, pick up some of these donuts and sell them for $5. You can paint people's fingernails for $5. Get your city and town government, as you've already heard, to issue a proclamation. And on the website that you'll hear from Kirk about, it actually has the verbiage that you can use to do that. And if you're going to do an event like this, make sure that you share that with your local radio and newspapers so that they can help talk about World Polio Day and Rotary's efforts to end World Polio. I mean, we really need to raise funds. So you can ask people to donate lunch money. You can host a virtual karaoke night or have a speaker at your club talk about polio and polio updates. Our club did that, and it was a packed crowd, and they were really interested to hear because we don't often talk about how far we've come. One club did Pints for Polio, and they partnered with a local restaurant and a tap house who donated $1 per pint sold. So you can set up a table and answer questions about polio, or host a screening of the polio documentary Dare to Dream. And now I'm going to introduce past District Governor Kirk Driscoll, who is actually our newest RPIC member, and he's going to talk to you about all of the resources that we have. Kirk?
Yeah, well, thank you all so much. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And, you know, I'm not sure if Marshall and Kim, if y'all put in the slide for the Southern slang to be able to understand me talking.
We couldn't find a translator.
You couldn't find a translator on that one. But if you are having, I know that just on that view options, the chats are coming through. So if it gets switching to French or Spanish or back to English, you can select it up under there on the top. But yeah, so you've heard about some great things from past President John and everything else that we've been talking about. And if you go to the endpolio.org website, and it's the resources that are there are incredible. But if you click really on the top right hand corner, you can click down and you get to the resource center. And under that, there's everything there that you can imagine that we're going to touch on here just for a moment. And it's under the resource center there, from videos and all that. And I think the next slide that just popped up is if you want to share your polio story. So if you're at an event or you see something inspiring, it's right there. That's your hashtag up on the top, the hashtag #MyEndPolio. And you can load that picture there. And on the next, where we come through here, these are all underneath the resource center. So the videos that are here, they're cut and they're ready. Download it, drag it over, and upload it to your social media, your website, emails that you've got going out. Share it with your club members, those in your district. It's done and put together for you. We click through here. There again, this is all there in the resource center. On the next, for the social media, click in you click on the tab. It's there. It's formatted and ready to go for you in what social media applications that you're wanting to use. And the next is an example of what the imagery is going to look like for you. You know, we can sit around and try to cut and paste things ourselves, and or we can just leverage everything that's there for us that's been done and looks great. They've got from pictures of this stature to the next is like more of the infographics, where you've got a graphic that's been created that's telling the story of what we've done in the past, how partnering with us now, how it will actually be a benefit to those, and really telling the story through art. And as we navigate down through this, the next is on the educational side, you know, from 5 reasons why we must eradicate polio to the End Polio Now brochure. It's there. Click it, download it, either print it out and hand it out, copy and paste it, load it up on your social media, your website, or send it to a printer. The other is the next that's popping up here is going to be on the event materials, I believe. And so we'll say that you've got the event coming up and you're wanting to know, okay, hey, where and what resources are available, from your planning guide that was touched on a little bit earlier, down to a donation box logo. It's all there for you to customize and use at your event. We come in through, it's more of the events that are here. I mean, it's how to take action. Everything that we could think, from a letter to invite someone to the event, to the logos, to the proclamation that Kim talked about. I know that several clubs have had that successfully put together, and that example's there for you. So it's, hey, where do you start? You can start right from here, even down to messaging that you can use for your press releases and social media, that you can customize a little bit if you want to, or just copy and paste it with your club name or district name in it there for you. Banners, posters. I mean, we have to get really creative to try to find something that we need that has not been created for us. It's there for us to just simply download from the countdown, the history poster there. And now, so if you take out your phone, you may say, well, hey, I can remember inpolio.org and I'm going to go to it later. Or if you can do it right now, if you haven't been paying attention any other time, just pick up your phone and get your camera out, and you're going to see it pop up right there in the top for you, and click on it, and it's going to take you right to the resource center. If you need any help with it or have any questions, I'll give you Kim's phone number and email address in the chat right here really quick, because she's a whole lot smarter than I am. But it's what a pleasure to be here with y'all. I'm really excited to be a part of the team. And if I can help you tell your story in any way, please let me know. And I would love to be a part. But I really want to thank Rotary for, it's not just that we have an initiative and we have a process and things that we're really wanting to accomplish. They've given us the resources there. They're at our fingertips. We just need to educate everyone that they're there and how to use them. So please, if I can help you, please let me know.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk. You know, Rotary has put so much effort into all of these resources. There really is not a reason not to do some sort of an event for World Polio Day this year, because, I mean, it's all kind of laid out for you. The resources, the videos, I mean, just encouraging your members to blanket social media on World Polio Day with any of these social media posts or videos that have been shared, you know, giving out the coloring pages to kids. So many kids don't know what polio is, not just kids. I'm talking young adults that have no idea what polio is here in the United States, because, you know, it hasn't been an issue here truly since the late 70s. And it's truly something that we can talk about, a great giant goal that we set that we're just so close to finishing. So use these resources, and would love to see, you know, 100% of all the clubs in Zone 34 this year do something on World Polio Day. I think it's that important this year that we all do something on World Polio Day. Now, someone did ask a question, and Past President John Germ, this may be above my pay grade. I've never really heard this question. It's an interesting question, because this year World Polio Day is on a Sunday, and there aren't too many clubs that meet on Sundays. So folks are asking, what should we do to recognize World Polio Day? Of course, we can share things on Sunday on social media, but maybe do something the week before or week after. What are your thoughts?
You could do it any day you want to. I responded back in the chat to say, do it. And then somebody just a while ago made the comment. I think, Kim, you were talking about somebody doing it the 24th to the 26th. Or somebody said, or maybe it was you, Kirk, said 24th to 26th. The important thing is get the message out. Get the message out and report it. And I think that, yes, it's on Sunday, but we can't control that. So just do it on the week before. It's kind of like a makeup. The week before, the week after, okay?
We're going old school with the makeup. All right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, with that, again, appreciate the great resources that Kim and Kirk shared with us, and we'll go through the questions here and see if there are any.
I sent you the link to I sent you Dave Baumgartner's
That's right. Past President John sent me the information. So if there's a Dunkin' Donuts in your area, we will include that in the email that goes out tomorrow. Again, I saw that pop up in the chat a couple of times too. All of the webinars that we put on are always recorded. So you'll be able to watch this recording later, or maybe show it at a club meeting as a program. Might be a great idea as you prepare for World Polio Day, and you can hear Past President John's comments. We'll also be providing all the slides. So you have access to all the links and all the resources that we've gone, all the ideas. But also we'll include that information about Dave Baumgartner so that if there is a Dunkin' Donuts in your area, you can have purple pinky donuts made. And maybe that's a great opportunity to have donuts for World Polio Day. All right. So with that, I don't see any additional questions come through. And I know we're right at the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. And so again, want to thank Past President John for your comments tonight and for your efforts and everything that you've done to help us with this fight, and appreciate your leadership and your ongoing leadership as trustee chair this year. So thank you for that. To the RPIC team, thank you all for presenting these resources, and to everyone on this call. Remember, our team is available to help you plan, organize, and promote your World Polio Day. We're a resource and are here to assist, and definitely want to help support, because again, the goal is to have 100% participation from all of our clubs. With that, we will say thank you and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, John.